and good evening. It is April 14th, 2026, and we're continuing our discussion collection in our Outside the Class series. Remember, this series starts with the Bible Project, covers the entire Tanakh, also known as the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament. Those source videos are available for your review. They're on TheDustyFeet.com in the Outside the Class section. Because the intent of Outside the Class, we listen to that in-class lecture first, and those short overview videos. We expand on this conversation, and we try to keep it about 15 minutes. Make them easy to catch up on. Tonight's might be a little longer. We'll see. So we're on a quest, scroll by scroll, book by book, a journey through this collection, but maybe with a fun and different twist. Our hope with the Dusty Feet is to foster discussion and to help build and support communities. If you are not already connected to a community or just want to share and interact, this community has 4 primary ways to interact. 1. TheDustyFeet.com. That's our primary place to find everything. You are always free to comment. 2. Substack. Link is in the description below. It's designed around the written and spoken text. It's a place to connect to ourselves and others. 3. Facebook. At the Dusty Feet. These videos and other videos are also available for comment and discussion. 4. And as always, you're welcome to send an email to bob@thedustyfeet.com. These places, they will be moderated and guidelines will be set to ensure healthy, safe discussion. And as always on the Dusty Feet, this is a place where we can safely explore the endless ways of God and the interconnection of His creation. Belief understandings may be challenged, divine misunderstandings may exist, and traditional teachings might falter as we pursue connection, context, and community with God and each other here in an environment of grace and love. Oh, and of course, before we forget, if you do find these kinds of podcasts useful, please click that subscribe button. But those reminders, they're just there to help you. But also, if you think these might be useful to others, that is when you click that like button, because that is how YouTube chooses to share these to more people if they wish. Remember, in this series, we're going to cover the entire Tanakh, or the Old Testament. We're doing in the original order of those Hebrew scriptures. And we need to remember, as always, the videos we're going to discuss, they're just the tip of an iceberg. They're part of an entire learning series I highly recommend, and all of them can be available at the Bible Project's website. Because we're going to ask many questions about all kinds of things. The answers? We'll see. 2 Samuel, second scroll. This is part 22. So tonight's probably going to be a little bit long because we're going to be wrapping up the second scroll of Samuel. It's been quite a journey so far with this. So when we left off, David had buried the bones of Saul, Jonathan, and the rest of his family, and he put them all in the tomb of his father Kish. I thought that was quite a generous gesture. And then we jump right back into it, right? Where David's back at war with the Philistines. I don't think we're shocked by this. The Philistines keep popping up there, that annoying, challenging people group that, well, they weren't dealt with early, back in the days of Joshua, and, well, they just keep coming back. Like I said, Philistines are back, and they've been busy. And by that, I mean the Philistines have been recruiting, right? They've been searching the land, finding people to fight for their cause. And as we've seen in the past, these Philistines, they do believe in, let's say, might is right? They do believe that the strongest man determines the fate. And they again enlist men of great stature. I believe the phrase used is, who was one of the descendants of the giants. So it seems like David can't get rid of these pesky these pesky big guys. And he continues to confront them, right? But maybe just not in the way we expect. There's also something we probably weren't thinking about this up front. This hit me. David is now a very seasoned warrior. And to be honest, he's getting on in years. Sometimes when we play these stories, I don't think we really take into heart the folks. They're getting old right before our eyes in these stories. I just don't think we actually realize it. I think we need to. So it starts in chapter 21, verse 15, right? The Philistines went to war again with Israel, and David went down together with his servants, and they fought against the Philistines. David grew weary. But Ishbi-benob, one of the descendants of the giants, whose spear weighed 300 shekels of bronze and who was fitted out with new weapons, well, he said he would kill David. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, he came to his aid, attacked the Philistine, and killed him. Then David's men swore to him, said, "You shall not go out with us to battle any longer, so that you do not quench the lamp of Israel." So after this battle, it took place with the Philistines at Gob, right? Then Sibbecai, the Hushathite, well, he killed Saph, who also who was one of the descendants of the giants. Then there was another battle with the Philistines at Gob, and Elhanan, son of Jari-Oregim, the Bethlehemite, well, he killed another Goliath, the Gittite, the shaft of whose spear, well, it was like a weaver's beam. There was again war at Gath, and there was a man whose great size, who had 6 fingers on each hand, 6 toes on each foot, 24 in number. He too was descended from the giants. And when he taunted Israel, well, Jonathan, the son of David's brother Shimei, he killed him. These 4 were descended from the giants in Gath, and they fell by the hands of David and David's servants. So it seems that if it's not only David, but the others around him that rally to this cause, they believe it, right? The biggest part is probably that they also believe God is on their side. That even when the people flee, read the details of the story, these warriors, they believe in their king. They believe in their God. And they believe that the day of the battle, well, it's theirs. But also, make no bones, these are valiant, brave, seasoned warriors, and I think we're going to see their names a little later, what one could call when we get to the Warrior Hall of Fame. But until then, we have this next chapter. It's chapter 22. It's a song of David. It's a song of deliverance. So I encourage you to read it on your own. Please take the time to read it. 2 Samuel chapter 22. It's full of some wonderful imagery, but we need to remember this is a song. It's not a recitation of history. It has all kinds of thoughts, all kinds of imagery and metaphors. They're woven in and out like on a tapestry. Some you might actually recognize. I think there's some you'll think, hey, we might have heard this before. Well, for them, future, for us, later, but please read chapter 22. Discuss it amongst yourselves. I think it's worth a discussion. So we get to chapter 23. And the words of an oracle of David. As in, this is somebody who's giving this story that we're talking about with David. And in this story, I think it kind of wraps up some of the exploits of David. And the phrase the oracle uses is, now these are the last words of David. Starts in 23, verse 1. Now these are the last words of David, the oracle of David, the son of Jesse, the oracle of the man who God exalted, the anointed of the God of Jacob, the favorite of the strong one of Israel. The Spirit of the Lord speaks through me. His word is upon my tongue. The God of Israel has spoken. The rock of Israel has said to me, the one who rules over people justly, ruling in the fear of God, well, is like the light of the morning, like the sun rising on a cloudless morning, gleaming from the rain on the grassy land. Is not my house like this with God? For he has made with me an everlasting covenant, ordered in all things and secure. So will he not cause to prosper all my help and my desire? But the godless are all like thorns. They are thrown away, for they cannot be picked up with the hand. To touch them, one uses an iron bar or the shaft of a spear, and they are entirely consumed in fire on the spot. So this oracle of God, speaking at the end of King David's tenure, he offers a retrospective look and an assurance that God's lineage and his covenant commitments to the Davidic line, well, they stay. It's interesting. Because sometimes these unnamed people, right, they step forward. They speak up. They describe who's writing this annotation, meaning where it comes from. And for us, well, it's up to us then to look back and see the truth as it played out going forward. So the rest of chapter 3, well, this is where we're going to call it David's Men of Valor Hall of Fame. These are the people noted who they've been men of valor, and they're going to be part of the military structure as we move forward. Because we are moving forward, and we're going to wrap up this second scroll of Samuel, and we're going to get into the first scroll of Kings. And I think we'll see which king will be the benefactor of these men of valor. Because I find it interesting. We have the top 3, right? Then the 30 below them, right? It mentions a few times that he, whoever it was, he wasn't in the top 3, but he was important. These men, they were important to the king, and one could say then, ex post facto, to the children of Israel themselves. So I suggest that you go and read this list. If nothing more, to read some of their exploits and maybe to understand who David has around him, what things have become, right? Who's going to be in their position as they move forward. Because maybe these names they're going to come up in the future. Might be worth a look. But as we get to the end of the final chapter, second scroll of Samuel, we know God's not happy with the children of Israel. Still, David, he decides to do something unbidden. He runs a census. He wants to know all the battle-ready men that are in the entire land, all of Israel, Judah and Israel. And he gets his number. He gets 800,000 and 500,000 respectively. But after he's finished the census, David stops. He pauses. He realizes God didn't order it. God didn't ask for a census. David realizes it because he realized he didn't go to God first. So now he has to go to God. He approaches God. He admits his error. He's asking for forgiveness. And in this, we're going to see consequences. Consequences of his choice, right? So there's his prophet, Gad, comes to David because God has spoken to him. He's spoken to Gad, and he has a word now for David. David's going to be given another choice. And this choice, well, this is one of those Hollywood movie options, right? Which do you choose? Starts in chapter 24, verse 10. But afterward, David was stricken to the heart because he had numbered the people. David said to the Lord, I have sinned greatly in what I've done. But now, O Lord, I pray you take away the guilt of your servant, for I have done very foolishly. When David rose in the morning, the word of the Lord came to the prophet Gad, David's seer, right, saying, Go and say to David, Thus says the Lord, 3 things I offer you. Choose one of them and I will do it to you." So Gad came to David, and he told him, and he asked him, "Shall 7 years of famine come to you on your land? Or shall you flee 3 months before your foes while they pursue you? Or shall there be 3 days of pestilence in your land? Now consider and decide what answer I shall return to the one who sent me." Then David said to Gad, "I am in great distress. Let us fall into the hand of the Lord, for his mercy is great. But let me not fall into human hands." So the Lord sent a pestilence on Israel from that morning until the appointed time, and 70,000 of the people died from Dan to Beersheba. But when the messenger stretched out his hand toward Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord relented concerning the evil, and he said to the messenger who was bringing destruction among the people, "It is enough. Now stay your hand." And the messenger of the Lord was standing by the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. And David looked up, and he saw the messenger of the Lord standing between heaven and earth, and in his hand a drawn sword stretched out over Jerusalem. Then David and the elders, clothed in sackcloth, they fell on their faces. Because when David saw the messenger who was destroying the people, he said to the Lord, "I alone have sinned, and I, the shepherd, have done the evil. But these sheep, what have they done? Let your hand, I pray, be against me and against my father's house." So at the end of the scroll, at the end, David realizes that because of his choices and God's anger toward Israel, judgment falls. And then he's going to choose a consequence. Maybe that's part of the mantle of being a king, of being a shepherd. But I think we also get another glimpse. We get a glimpse in the heart of David. Because even in this pressure, I believe, it's still a good glimpse. It starts in verse 18. That day Gad came to David and said to him, "Go up, erect an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite." So, following Gad's instructions, David went up as the Lord had commanded. And when Araunah looked down, and he saw the king and his servants coming towards him, and Araunah went out, prostrated himself before the king with his face on the ground. And Araunah said, "Why has my lord the king come to his servant?" And David said, "To buy the threshing floor from you in order to build an altar to the Lord, so that the plague may be averted from the people." Then Araunah said to David, "Let my lord the king take and offer up what seems good to him. Here are the oxen for the burnt offering, the threshing sledges, the yokes of the oxen for the wood." All of this, O king, Araunah gives to the king. And then Araunah said to the king, "May the Lord your God respond favorably to you." But the king said to Araunah, "No, but I will buy them from you for a price. I will not offer burnt offerings to the Lord my God that cost me nothing." So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. Then David built there an altar to the Lord, and he offered burnt offerings and the offerings of well-being. So the Lord answered his supplication for the land, and the plague was averted from Israel. David, as king, as shepherd, as servant, he intercedes. He acts on behalf of another. Because I think he also realizes that this intercession and what follows stem from the fact that it's not so much as a king. Again, he's realizing he's a servant. And in that, he realizes that he needs to literally pay money to obtain the resources he needs to offer the sacrifice, because he needs this to be his cost. He needs this to be his sacrifice. So God honored. God answered. Plague averted. There is so much to talk amongst yourselves about. Include in that conversation, while you're discussing amongst yourselves, include the burnt sacrifices and those sacrifices of well-being. So we finally wrapped up the second scroll of Samuel, and we will see the final curtain call of David and the beginnings of a new king as we enter the next scroll, the first scroll of Kings. And probably has to be expected, right? In our stories we've been going through so far, it's probably going to be anything but smooth. And yet, I think we're still looking forward to it. So, thanks you're with us tonight as we continue this walk through the entire Tanakh, finish 2 Samuel, on to Kings, on the Dusty Feet.